Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mice, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, CardHoarder.com, Alter Sleeves, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters just like you. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTGNerdGirl.
Hello.
Ruben Bressler.
Hey, how's it going?
It's happening now. If you had missed our pre-show, subscribers to this channel get access to our NSFW version early. We're checking the F-box, y'all. Those bombs are happening. And we kick it off with our first big and the giveaway. You get your chance of $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle in the chat. But subscribe first to get 2 chances to win. Don't forget our raid at the end of the show to support a member of the community. Enter your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. And that, of course, is thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. And first up, we have our first pick. It's a little light on the pickings this week, but we did the best we could. And it turns out that Red Bull Untapped returning is really terrific and is one of the best things that's going on right now, which is, you know, the ability to have large events. These are online events, but something like $20,000 in prizes in these things is no joke.
Yeah, they did that last time, and there was a ton. It was a bit weird. They had like a special application for content creators and things, which kind of left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. But because they wanted to bring, you know, sort of like an invitational type thing where it's like, we are allotting X amount of spots for creators. You can apply. Anyone else can apply. And it was like super packed. And then they kind of like randomized the entries. And then I've played in the event because I played at the time of the last Red Bull Untapped event. I was actually sponsored by Red Bull. So we all got automatic invites and knew about the event beforehand, which was really nice. And it was kind of awkwardly run. Like, I think I went like 3.5 hours sitting at my computer between rounds because they just like couldn't figure out pairings correctly. So I'm hoping that this gets a little bit better this time around, but it's still a step in the right direction.
I see. Yeah. So this is open and free to enter competition. Lets anybody play, and for cash and prizes, which is cool. And you don't get that every day these days.
Yeah, I mean, assuming they fix some of the problems that you talked about, right. This is, it looks like it's 6 events across then 2 live events, if I'm reading this correctly, 1 in Portugal and 1 in Japan.
They did the same thing last time too. One was in Italy and one was somewhere else. And they flew out some cosplayers and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty sweet. You could also, I think, through the online versions, a couple of people could win trips to the live paper ones as well.
Nice.
Oh, and look at that. To sign up, you need an MTG Melee account? Don't you need a Matcherino? Wasn't that like the hot new stuff?
Okay, all right. But this is Red Bull, so they're not going through the official channels, which I guess is a good jumping off point to say, once again, maybe we should just do what every other esport does, and the company that makes the game doesn't run the tournaments. So it's good to have a big name, a big sponsor like Red Bull. It's good to have, that be the focus of that company or that section of that company, instead of having the company that makes the games and produces the games and sends out the cards and does all this, also do that level of stuff.
Everybody wants to be Riot, right? Everybody wants to be Riot. They make their own stuff. They have their own in-house team, which do all the broadcasts, as far as I know, and huge professional outfit, which make gigantic shows seen by all sorts of people. That's awesome. I watch Counter-Strike stuff. That stuff is largely sent out to event organizers, just like the Grand Prix that we do. Is they would, they either, if I'm not sure necessarily pay or sort of allow the privilege of creating those events, getting the attendance for those events, and yada 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 yada. So it all works differently. This is fine, Yeah, we don't get to talk about pro points or any of that stuff, but whatever. At least we have something new and fun.
This is gonna be the biggest tournament series in Magic for the foreseeable future? Question mark?
I mean, I guess.
There's no pro scene.
Right.
And SCG Tour ? And this is probably more prestigious than the SCG Tour anyway.
At the moment,
yeah, maybe.
Like,
just because Red Bull's backing it, for sure, it's going to be pretty large.
Right.
It is kind of weird. I'll have to look more into it, whether, like I said, last time there was a cap and it was a kind of a lottery system on who got to play, which was pretty awkward. But like when it's online, and you have a company like Red Bull hosting it, of course there's going to be like more people wanting to play in it. And another thing I saw before from the first time is that it was all like European times. So that might be a problem for if you're watching this show. You guys are far more likely to be in the US because we are in that time zone. But I think my tournament started at like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. or something.
Yeah, I do. If I recall, Red Bull Gaming, the subsection of Red Bull, is a European company, or is headquartered in Europe as opposed to being United States. That would make sense. Right, because Portugal seems like a weird country to just have your finals in at random. No shade, Portugal. I'm just saying that's like not the first pick. Even though this is the first pick, it's not the first pick. I would have been like, oh, that's where the Red Bull finals are for the Magic the Gathering tournament.
Yeah, if you had to like pick 10 places, like if you were like, where do you think a good place would be, or a highly sought after destination for your players to come to?
Right. And Portugal's gorgeous. I mean,
it's neat.
It's going to be great. But this is, it looks good. It's got that like esports sheen to it, all that good stuff. So I'm excited to have something positive to talk about. I hope that NerdGirl, I hope that they solve the problems that you must have had in the previous iteration. They've certainly had enough time off between events.
And you could certainly argue they're using the right software. We'll get to that in a little bit. As we move out of the first pick to gather the townsfolk, thanks to our sponsor, cardhoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. For our first gather topic here, there are Japanese Championship promos. These things are really interesting. They are only at these Japanese Planeswalker Championship events, as I understand it. They have special versions of Kaya the Inexorable that goes to first place and has that first place little moniker there on the right. Here you have Faceless Haven as a promo to the top 8, which is
that one's pretty.
Is very nice. And then I want to say the participation promo, please correct me if I'm wrong, is Saw It Coming. But
that looks like a Saw It Coming to me.
This is definitely a Saw It Coming. I just don't know exactly how you get it in terms of the event, but either way, they've had these types of promos before. I would love to know how expensive the other versions were, because like these are serious bling bling, impress your friends, because my God, they only make so many of these, yada yada. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think these are awesome.
Yeah, they're really pretty.
I love the stamp. I love the top 8 stamp on the Faceless Haven, the champion stamp, the champ stamp. Let's call it a champ stamp.
Wow.
Can we coin that? I've decided that this is the champ stamp.
That is the champ stamp.
That's the champ stamp on the Kaya.
We did it, everybody.
Yeah, I don't know what the Saw It Coming is. It's probably participation. I can't imagine it's anything else.
Right.
But yeah,
those
are gorgeous.
They're sweet. Like, and again, this is just the super hard to find stuff that you can have in your super cool show off and impress your friends decks.
Yeah.
Which is great. I like it. Let's see here. There was some unfortunate reporting on the Gen Con attendance being down about 50%. But as I kind of had mentioned when we talked about it, like the people who were there, they were hungry. Like they were hungry to buy. They were hungry to sell. They hadn't had a show like that in a long time. They hadn't had anything like that in a long time. So while half the people showed up, I assure you, they were all about being twice as excited as they were 2 years ago.
The only other argument to that is that for your business, that you have a lot more products that you're selling. You also buy a lot of products.
It's true.
So if people are doing twice as much business, then that kind of compensates. But if you're like, let's say a video game, like a small indie game with a booth, you're not getting eyeballs on that game. So like that could be pretty detrimental depending on how much the booth, fees were. Yeah. If you were expecting to get a lot more exposure.
That's fair.
Yeah. I think that in addition to attendance being down about 50%, the final exhibitor count was also down about 50%. Which, look, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. So this isn't really what I would call bad news. Yeah, I would just call this news.
This is news, right? Yes. It's good to know and understand.
And as far as I can tell, so far, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but it doesn't appear as if Gen Con is heading towards being a super spreader event.
It doesn't have any iteration, or it sounds like that is. From what I've heard.
So that means that those that attended, and even though it's down 50%, that's still 35,000 people that were in Indianapolis, Indiana for 4 days who aren't normally there. Right. So it had the possibility of being something bad, and it looks like the early signs are that it wasn't. So, that's positive.
Right. And
I feel like lower attendance is better. So
in some ways, people are more comfortable, particularly in right now, that have a less crowded space. Darzog was mentioning that every vendor they talked to said they had a great show. The quote here from the director of sales and marketing at Arcane Wonders said that sales are way up. People are desperate to spend money. I don't know if I would describe it as desperate, but I would say that people were excited, to just like buy cool new things that they couldn't get access to until now, and that's fun.
I would also add that late September is not the best time to have a convention. They had to push it back from their early August date, which is perfect. Kids aren't in school. It's the end of summer. People are back from their summer vacations. This is when, and it's also just when Gen Con happens.
It was, yeah.
Putting it to 6 weeks later definitely messes with people's, I want to say circadian rhythms. That's not the word.
It's just more like their schedules. Yeah, they're what they were used to, essentially. And obviously nothing is like it used to be as much as we would want it to be.
They also did a big push for Gen Con at home with a bunch of in-store events. Hundreds of stores participated in that.
Right. They limited badges to half as many as 2019 and did not sell out, which I believe they got close, but they did not sell out.
Sure. Nice.
Either way, for what it was, damn good show.
Yeah.
So we move on here to Desperate Ravings. Check out our altar sleeves. You can support the show by using the code MagicMikes at checkout for 5% off anything in the store. You can visit them at altersleeves.com/MagicMikes. And we're getting revved up right now to get our sweet new, how would you describe it here? Movie poster?
Classic Monsters movie poster.
Did you show it? Is the new clip have it? Did we see that earlier?
I don't think it's on the clip.
It's not on the clip yet because
I've got mine
the new
sitting
website thing
here.
isn't 100% out.
Let me get mine open here.
You
got yours?
We got mine. I actually got a second one. Thank you very much, Alter Sleeves, which now has the glasses. If you see there,
you're right.
Yay.
We got the glasses.
Yeah.
I can't see without my glasses.
I have the original and the super rare prototype versions with no glasses.
They also, this is just a picture of me. They didn't do any, I don't know why they didn't make
your head looks a little smaller in that.
That's true. A little bit smaller. I don't know why they didn't make this more, this is just too realistic.
Now, from something that is super cool, like our super cool new altar sleeves, to something that is totally not super cool. Looks like Channel Fireball has decided to reduce the judge compensation provided by MTG Vegas compared to Grand Prix Houston of 2020. Let's take a look at that now, shall we? So this was shared by Joe Klopchik, who says, I haven't been seriously considering traveling to work events, so I was surprised when I ran the numbers. They're basically paying 18% less. And in that one case, 44% less for whatever a strike is. I'm not sure what that is in terms of judges.
Strike is tearing down it's the opposite of setting up. So it's like striking the set, taking down the pipe and drape, taking down the tables.
Gotcha. So he strongly encourages friends not to accept a pay cut to return to work during a pandemic. It almost certainly will be more expensive to travel and to work one of these now than it was 2 years ago. Everything's more expensive. You notice that? Everything is more. It's ridiculous. We all want to return normal, of course, but that also includes having to complain about dwindling compensation numbers again. Big issue right now. Essentially saying that, look, things like inflation, things like just costs are going up. The shipping fiasco is absolutely ridiculous, and I can't certainly get behind someone trying to give less in a world that we currently live in.
I agree. I think that judges are a thankless job, and it's the kind of thing that, we talked about this in the pre-show a little bit, but it's like teachers. I think that people think they can get away with paying them less, so they're going to. But the only thing I will say slightly in their defense is that, they're being very upfront about it here. And this could be in response to expecting the lower turnout that we are seeing with PAX and Gen Con. So if they're expecting half of the turnout potentially, then they're going to be trying to cut costs in every direction. Now, I do hope that my friends that are judges can this, you know, is not a thing that sticks, or maybe they even fix it, I hope, with some bad press. But I definitely like can see that being an issue for channel as well.
Right. And the rates here for the 2020 SCG Open are posted here. It's hard to compare apples to apples, they note, but generally floor judges are being paid more. Leadership is paid less. Head judges about the same. So like, you know, this is always just, it's weird. It's an awkward dance at best when you try to like move the numbers around because of staffing concerns versus what you have budgeted versus the amount of people you expect versus the staff that you hire based on the crowd that you're expecting. I get it. But at the same time, it's pretty easy to say, this happened here and this happened there, and you changed it for the worse.
I think that the short answer that I have to give is less money bad, right? Like that's just some incredible
analysis from
really, really excellent work out of Frankenstein. Less money bad. But the detailed answer is significantly more nuanced, and I could literally go on for the next 20 minutes talking about all of the garbage that listen, longtime viewers of this show know that we talk about how the judge community in Magic is just like this weird microcosm that no one knows what to do with, including the judges. So it's a very difficult situation. On the one hand, I appreciate Channel Fireball, who, let's not forget, lost a ton of money and an entire branch of their business because of the pandemic, right? So they're going to be super gun shy about giving any money anywhere for any event for the foreseeable future. You know, we're trying to emerge from our fallout shelters in the middle, where it's still radioactive outside in a lot of places. So it's tough. There's a lot of moving parts here, but ultimately less money bad. If you live on the East Coast, you're not going to be able to fly to the Vegas event. If you live in Vegas, sure, work the Vegas event. I think that that's just the future of what judging is going to have to look like.
I mean,
yeah, also like maybe it will change based on the turnout or whatever. Like you were saying, you know, we don't know what's going on financially with Channel Fireball. That this is my hope. Maybe I'm giving them a little bit too much benefit of the doubt here. But if you are expecting a lower turnout because all of the events have been lower turnout, and then to boot, we just talked about how expensive everything is. Traveling, shipping, you know, probably the convention hall rental is maybe even more, if not at least the very same. Yeah. So how can you justify, or where can you cut costs to be able to hold this event? And as a community now, I hate for this to all go onto the judges. Maybe that means we increase the entrance fee by a percentage as well. So I'm not saying that the judges should be paid less, but like things need to give, right?
This is a nice example of the magic and the power of collective bargaining. If no judge takes these rates, I promise you, I swear to you, they will go up. I can absolutely. They're not going to have no judges. They're going to keep going until someone says yes. And when no one says yes, the rates will go up or the show won't happen. And they need the show to happen.
Play the Soviet national anthem. Evan is...
Hey, I'm all about workers' rights. All right. I'm a fan of that stuff. So all I'm saying...
Your Magic tournament? I think you mean our Magic tournament. Yeah.
Look,
I would definitely rather that they increase the entrance fee by 10% or whatever than cut the judges' pay, because that feels like a far more reasonable thing.
All I'm saying, there's power in it, and it will move mountains you think won't move.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see the future as it pertains to this discussion. I don't think that this event is going to be altered in any meaningful way in terms of judge compensation, in terms of which judges apply and how many judges go. What it will do is it will affect the future goodwill of Channel Fireball as it pertains to Magic and Flesh and Blood events. And future events for all, you know, SCG, Channel Fireball, NRG, all of these tournament organizers. So I think that it is going to be a bellwether. It's just this event itself isn't going to be meaningfully impacted.
All right. So moving on moving on sort of tangential to that was the announcement that there was no video coverage for MTG Vegas. Flesh and Blood got coverage, for God's sake, and we don't have video coverage now. Do note, they stopped coverage at the Grand Prix, before the world ended, and that sucked, and we were certainly not any happier about that. But you would think, as an idea of, we're back to the thing and we're relaunching this stuff and we're all here to have a good time. And wouldn't it be awesome to see all these personalities back on camera again? You would have that camera, but it's not. And I think that's a gigantic, crazy, huge miss. Hey, CFB. Hey, brah. Did you just market? You just launch a marketplace? I'm sorry. Did you do that today? Were you looking for some way to tell thousands of Magic players that it exists? Like, hello? Why is it never seen as an advertising platform? We talked about this in the pre-show. This is not just trying to get people to show up at your Grand Prix or whatever. It's about getting people to see what you want them to see. Show them things. Yeah,
Darzog has the right idea. Flesh and Blood is where the money came from for the coverage, because Flesh and Blood is going for that. He's going for the brass ring.
My understanding is that that's where the money was coming from before with Channel Fireball, is that Wizards was paying for that. And when Wizards pulled the funding, Channel stopped doing the coverage. Now, so my counter to this is, they pulled coverage way before, COVID. We did quite a few events. Now, I feel like if they were seeing a huge, significant drop in name recognition and online sales and stuff like that, that is a door that they would reopen. Channel Fireball's a big company. They got their big boy pants on. If they don't want to do the coverage and they don't think it's good for them, I think that they probably know a little bit more than I would. So I'm going to let them do that.
And to add on to that, they're still gun shy, right? They lost a lot of money to the pandemic. So why are they going to throw good money after bad?
Well, it wasn't
to get coverage.
I wouldn't necessarily say it was good money after bad. I would say it's good money after like ruined plans or something.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like things are out of their control. Versus like this to me being like. And first of all, look, this coverage is not cheap. We're talking $12,000 to $15,000. Like that's the actual real deal. It costs $4,000 just for the internet. Like period. But like. And people's hotel rooms and the flights and the commentator costs and all that good stuff. And, who has the equipment and do you have to rent it or can you find someone who's going to do it for you on contract and blah, 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 blah. I understand it's a logistics nightmare. I understand it's not cheap, but I also understand it's a huge advertising opportunity for a company who's running basically the only large Magic events around. Wouldn't you want to take advantage of that?
I mean, I definitely agree. And also it buys a lot of goodwill with the community in the long term. So like, maybe they don't notice a significant drop in their brand recognition now after that short period of time where before COVID, we didn't have those things. But that's not to say that you aren't going to see a slow decline or not a slow incline because they aren't having it. So it's definitely good. Right. But I mean, I'm also not going to fault them. I'm sure they, considered their ducks and put them how they wanted them.
It's fine.
And it's also a conversation that's ongoing. It's not like we, this event has no video coverage and therefore no Magic event will ever have coverage ever again. Right? No. It's an ongoing conversation.
Right.
I think it's a completely reasonable thing for them to not have video coverage for this first event. I think it's perfectly reasonable.
Not the end of the world. It's just not what I would like, which is why we're here to talk about it. But either way, and
I think we would all like it at some level for sure.
And I'm saying that like they have a really good reason to run the coverage too. You know what I mean? It's not just I would like to watch it. It's that they're launching this entire new business, strategy thing. Go for it. Show people how cool it is. Make little video segments. Make little content pieces between rounds. You can do all of that. Like that's a thing you can do. All right, whatever.
Wait, hold on. SCG Con doesn't have coverage? What? Huh?
Wow. Okay. Well, that's terrible, and that sucks.
Wild. They don't have to drive the truck anywhere.
No, cross town. But okay.
That's wild.
That's wow. That's
it could just be that they're not finding that it is as profitable as we think it might be.
I think also they might not have the staff that were working those shows.
The money.
That's also
because it's been a year and a half. Like I get that part of it. Trust me. All right. So anyway, the other things to grind my gears on here, which is card variants that appear to be mistakes. I'm pretty sure this is a mistake. Maybe it's not. Maybe Wizards is making these magical little variants and they say nothing because they're just kind of messing with the collectible market. I don't know. But right here, you can see there's glossy sheens on the colored borders of basics from their set box. But they're not found. So you see this kind of like the little sheen right here at the bottom of the skull. And then there's no sheen. And so sheen and then no sheen. And this is annoying and really ridiculous. And this one in particular feels like the tipping point where we've had this thing where like the secret lair signets were in etched foil and then not etched foil. And that became a whole thing that was very expensive and unique. But I think this one in particular feels like the tipping point of like businesses have stopped differentiating, like, and not just talking about cool stuff. I'm talking like, you know, the internet. When you look at eBay and TCG Player, they're not separating out these lands into glossy and non-glossy. They're just the basic lands, and maybe you'll get glossy ones and maybe you won't, because because the market doesn't demand it. That's one thing. No one's going saying like, I need the glossy ones or I need the non-glossy ones. But B, it's so kind of minor, it feels like a mistake. And like it just feels like one of those things that is a result of them, you know, ramping up into a bunch of products. Obviously, pandemic slapped it right in the face. I understand how it got there, you know what I mean? But I also recognize that, like, man, we got to be better at tightening up stuff like this because it kind of drives collectors insane. Yeah. It doesn't help vendors.
I would say this is a weird quality control thing, and
it definitely is.
There's no other explanation for it.
I feel like it's different manufacturing places. Like, I have noticed there was like some tint color difference in cards that were like printed in the US versus some of the ones that were like maybe printed in Japan or wherever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, I have seen some of that stuff, so it could just be that someone effed up and didn't like put the glossy bit in the thing, and maybe they had access to different ink.
Yeah. I mean, you can even see like the Commander products. A lot of their cards feel thinner and or flimsier than sort of your regular Magic card, but that's just how they made them. Those are real cards. They're not fake. They just kind of look a little weird and different. And that's just from where they were sort of constructed.
It looks like that is some of the consensus here is that set boosters from the box, this Agent of Blight is the one who tweeted it originally. Josh said that the set boosters from the box had cards arranged in a way consistent with past Japanese packs. And then they compared the wrappers of the two packs containing the two different foilings of basic lands, and it was two different manufacturers.
Well, there you go. I mean,
so that would be an interesting thing to compare in the future.
Right. Hand A didn't speak to hand B, and this is just on the production side. Again, it's one of the things I understand, but man, I hate it. It just drives me nuts.
It is very stupid. And it's also, there's two types of collectors. There are people who are like, I want foils for my deck, full stop. And then there's like, I want this one printing from this one set with this one art and this one amount of ink. And there's no in between. There's no like, I will take one of these three types kind of person. And so this is the kind of detail that drives people insane because you can't order what you want on the internet.
And, you know, you can see like, I can understand it even happens on the foils, which is like, oh my God, you know, so like, I understand. Yeah, I've said what I'm gonna say. We've done that.
It's awful.
I'm over it. I'm done. We're moving on.
And I know you're gonna get a lot of complaints too.
Bring it. I don't care. I mean, but like in terms of like obviously cool stuff, we'll make it right. We'll work with the customer. We want to get what they want. But like again, any vendors like that, they're like, this is the product we got when we bought the stuff. You know, it's like this. We're sorry. You know.
Yeah.
It's really painful. And particularly stuff when you're trying to buy cards, you know, do they have little variants? Do you care? Do you notice? Stuff like that. So anyway, we're moving here to a red zone.
Wait. Before we do that, we got to talk about Matcherino.
Oh, didn't we? Oh, yes, you're right.
We didn't talk about Matcherino. We didn't dunk on Matcherino.
Yeah, why didn't we do that? I started to, and then I moved back to the other thing. Okay, so
all right, before we dunk on Matcherino, we got to say we are homers for Flatford. We do love MTG Melee.
We're simps. Is that the wording these days?
Close. But yes,
we're stands. All right,
that is the fine print. But also Matcherino's crap.
All right, so let's back it up. First of all, we told you so. Second of all, This has nothing to do with Crokies. I don't think this comes back on Crokies at all. He had nothing to do with it. It wasn't his fault. Like, whatever. He got involved in the promotion and then had to announce, like, hey, we had incredible amount of signups and the tournament site couldn't support it. Say it with me, everybody. The tournament site couldn't. Just come on, man.
So Stephen Croak, aka Crokies on the internet, runs a tournament series whenever a new set comes out with the new standard, effectively, and there was going to be a Innistrad launch tournament for Midnight Hunt, produced by Team Liquid and a bunch of other partners, and it was going to be run through Matcherino, which is the new partner program with Magic the Gathering Arena, best known as like sort of a crowdfunding tournament conglomerate to run esports tournaments. And they couldn't handle Arena, I guess, or they couldn't handle something.
They couldn't handle the amount, is what it sounded like?
Something went awry. If they couldn't handle the amount of players, like, how do you not predict that the Crokies event is going to have 500? Like, he's got a million followers. Not actually, but he's got enough followers that you should be able to, gainfully predict.
There's multiple MTG Melee events with thousands of players in them that have no problems doing that. They have all the systems in place. This is just an example of a bad decision. Wizards, you made a bad decision. Whoever was in charge of this Matcherino thing should be like, you know what? We screwed up. Let's go back over here to the software that works, the software that was built from the ground up by someone in the community, for God's sake. Figure out the gem thing, because that appears to be the magic that Matcherino has and nobody else got. Figure out the gem thing and go from there, because this is just bad. It's awkward. It's embarrassing. We can do better. We have better. It's not even like we wish something like MTG Melee existed. It exists. They made it.
And Red Bull uses it.
I mean,
it's kind of inexplicable.
It's just ridiculous.
That happened this week. So.
Yeah, that sucked and made me sad. Okay, speaking of things that may or may not make you sad, Miss NerdGirl, we must discuss Midnight Hunt Limited. How you feeling about that set right now?
I am not having a ton of fun with it.
Why not?
Now that said, I've been playing, ranked premier drafts, which is just not a very fun place to be right now. But I did switch and I did some best of threes, and that was a little bit better, a little bit more variety. The set is so lopsided. Worse than AFR, which was the Rakdos sacrifice deck.
Yeah.
This is worse by like a lot.
What's
blue
bad
black
about
is far and away the best colors. Black is so strong that 5 people can draft black, and they will all have viable decks that will beat like the only Selesnya player at the table. It's just gross.
It's gross.
Yeah, it's real bad.
I always felt weird when I thought Innistrad was a good draft format, but not like the greatest ever that people going on and on about. Like, I thought it was fine, but I also felt like there was ways you could get run over if you got run over by werewolves and didn't have nothing in the early turns, for example. I don't think it quite has this issue with this one, but I do feel like there's color unbalancing almost, that it feels like that, they're doing this weird thing where the power needle just kind of moves back and forth, and it's been moving to make like worse limited formats.
Yeah.
Basically.
I tend to agree. I mean, I haven't had nearly as much limited experience as you do, but it does feel like my first picks in every draft have been blue, black, or red. Like, none of the green and white cards interest me.
Not enough to first pick over a burn spell or kill target whatever, or exile target whatever.
Or make a 7/7, right? The red spell that makes a creature that's equal to the power and toughness of
spells.
Spells in your graveyard.
That fits one deck.
Yeah.
The problem is like, I knew red would be weaker than it typically is for removal purposes because it's a wide format. Mm-hmm. So in a typical situation, when you're casting a removal spell on a thing, you're not going to be getting a 1-to-1 ratio because a lot of them come into play with another thing, or they did something, or there's just a way to get 2 things back out of your graveyard with the flashback situation or the disturbed stuff. Mm-hmm. Those are going to come back too, even if they didn't come in with 2 bodies. So red is just going to do what it does like weaker than it typically would in another format.
The decayed creatures in particular just like really wreck those spells because you're kind of losing half a card to start with. It's really weird. But it can
disturb
pile
everything
up on you. And for what it's worth, on the sales side, let me tell you, people were not as excited about Midnight Hunt as they were AFR. Like the instant the word Dungeons and Dragons Magic came out in the world, boom, pre-order explosion. Like everyone was on board and ready for the D&D set. Midnight Hunt's done okay. It's okay. Right. It's not done like unbelievable blockbusters or whatever. And then the limited formats doesn't seem that great either.
So what can they do with, because I'm assuming that Crimson Vow is going to be similar in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
maybe not all brand new, but it's going to be somewhat similar. What can they do with the next iteration of Innistrad to improve this?
I mean, I think it just needs more playtesting, to be honest, for limited purposes, if they wanted that to be. It's just imbalanced. What they do with the flavor or whatever is fine. It is weird that they have a werewolf-themed set, because the next one's supposed to be more vampires, right?
Right.
And werewolves are like one of the weakest things in the dang set. That makes no sense to me, but whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, just not enough playtesting happened. Like, the common 2/2 black zombie is just oftentimes going to be better than the uncommons of every other color. And it's not even close.
Which is weird. And, it's like Dominaria to me is the greatest draft format of all time. Dominaria United is coming next year. Like, we've kind of had set after set that is either like weirdly, pulled in one direction or just straight up flawed. Like AFR to me is just black, red, the format. And this is just black's too good, the format. And
yep.
I want a nice, good, balanced format, which would be nice. And I can't even hardly think of one that was fulfilling, I
talked about this a little bit with my community yesterday, and my hope is that, I know a lot of the set design people, and they are smart freaking people.
Sure.
So my hope that the last couple of imbalanced limited sets is because they've devoted more time to constructed and standard testing, so we have less OCO issues. Yeah. That is my ultimate hope, that like something good can come from this. It might not be for me, for my benefit. It's actually quite awful, but like, everybody's been complaining about like, and there's been a lot of bans, so maybe we can fix that.
I also think that the other thing that could have led to some of these, let's call it mistakes, right? Limited design mistake, is the pandemic. Maybe they just didn't get as much playtesting in. Maybe it's as simple as they couldn't show up to the office, right?
Yep.
That's fair. I mean, when you look at, like, for me, like, Kaldheim was busted because it had the snow thing, which is better than everything else.
Yeah.
In Strixhaven, it was a bit more balanced, but, the lessons obviously determined often who won the game,
right.
Which was the thing. D&D was, very red-black, as we discussed. Ikoria was just like playing with rocket launchers. Zendikar
Ikoria, so
fine.
for me, Strixhaven was black-white, like, was the best. But
black-white was the best. Yeah.
It wasn't, like, horrific in unbalance. Ikoria, red-white cycling was the best, obviously.
Yeah. Zendikar Rising, before Ikoria was Theros Beyond Death.
And Kaldheim you mentioned. I actually didn't mind Kaldheim. Like, yeah, Snow was strong, but I always felt like I could win with other decks. Whereas in this set, I don't feel like I can win with anything. If I'm not playing black, I'm not going to win. Like, you could have a busted Elves deck. You could have a busted, a couple other things in Kaldheim, but this is just not an option.
For Theros, I don't think that anything was busted, but also I didn't like that format. I just didn't think it was a fun format.
Yeah, Zendikar Rising was okay. Like, I don't remember anything that was particularly horrible about it or anything particularly great. It was just fine.
I don't remember anything about that format.
I don't remember what I had for lunch. So
exactly. So, like, what is going on in that format? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But, I think that there's hope. I think that there's also a chance that it's just, look, people look at Innistrad and they're like, Innistrad, the original Innistrad was great, and then a bunch of the follow-up Innistrads are not great. But also, look at Ravnica. Some of the Ravnica sets of drafts are among the people's favorites, and then, Dragon's Maze or whatever. And so it's possible to have these dichotomies of, the world doesn't necessarily translate to a good format.
Well, and somebody noted here in the chat, I am the proponent of something that has to be the best, and it absolutely does. That's why you're seeing Asika's Chariot along with Ren being all over standard, because now it's the best thing that you can do. And if you were to ban those cards or one of those cards, something else would show up, mostly around lessons. As we've seen, lessons are the best thing you can do right now in power level and card advantage. So that's why you're seeing turn 1 eye twitch until the end of time. And yeah, that's just kind of where we're at. Good, bad, or ugly. And I feel like draft formats have been, if not ignored per se, just given less love, just not given enough time and attention to make them shine.
Jimbo's asking what colors will Crimson Vow ruin? So this was the werewolf set and it's blue-black. So I'm going to go ahead and take a shot in the dark and we're going to say green-white.
I was going to say
green-white's going to be totally sick in the vampire set.
They'll reprint travel preparations and we'll just run everybody over.
The werewolves kind of suck in the werewolf set, which is really weird. Yeah. All right. Let's move on here to the finisher, unless you guys strongly want to discuss Hasbro making AAA games, which I don't. Because
they have in the past, and they're working with a new studio in the future that's headquartered in Raleigh, I believe, new Raleigh-Durham studio. We'll see if it works out. There's not much to say about it.
Well, the fact is they've released, those 2 games, was it Magic Legends or whatever, and then the D&D game recently, Dark Alliance, and both of those blew up on the launch pad, really
but that wasn't
bad.
This company. That was a different company.
That's right. So it's time to do it in-house, I guess, anyway. And that's
start over.
Thing of stuff. All right. We'll turn the winner to the finisher. Pro Tour historian and trio of first names that host Magic podcasts, Brian David Marshall, lived out a lifelong dream this evening, throwing out the ceremonial first pitch at Citi Field for the New York Mets 2021 home finale. It's a dream come true for the lifelong New Yorker, and it got me thinking, if you could be invited to participate in one ceremony closest to your heart, what would your proverbial first pitch be, Ruben?
Well, as an aspiring actor and writer, I would love to give out an honorary Oscar. And if there's one person I want to give an Academy Award to, it's Mr. Bruce Campbell.
Nice.
Because there's nobody more magical in the world than Bubba Hotep.
I like it. Nerd Girl?
So as a content creator myself, I would like to present an esports award. And I think the category I'd like to most present would be an esports award for Control Player of the Year. And then I would just keep the trophy for myself so that way I can continue beating Control players.
With the trophy.
That's right.
Over the head. You can blunt force trauma. Well, look, I used to love the Buffalo Bills. When I was a kid, everybody liked the Cowboys and everybody liked the 49ers. I liked the Bills. So I'd love to do the ceremonial opening coin toss for the Buffalo Bills of the Super Bowl, because with hashtag 5kids, there's nothing I know more than dealing with bills. You know a good way to make $1 million? Don't have a kid. All right. It's another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Ruben.
Hey, it was great talking with everybody. Have a good night.
Yeah, I'm going to move on here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor.
I should pick somebody to raid, huh?
You should do that.
I think we should raid this person. Can I pick one?
Yes, you should. Absolutely.
Go. I just posted the name of the channel. Just copy pasta that.
Great.
Fair enough.
Do it.
Fantastic ending of the show. And we move to our final slide here. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com, and Alter Sleeves, using the code MagicMics, like AlterSleeves.com. My co-host, Nerd Girl, and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.